Hey everyone, so this is my review of Charmed, Season 1, Episode 6, called Kappa Spirit, and essentially what this episode is about is that Maggie goes to try and make amends with Lucy, and upon doing so she has to ask Mel for some help to figure out the identity of this new Kappa. And this was a really fun and entertaining episode that definitely was not a super important episode in my opinion, but it was more just sort of like a fun filler episode, and it was just really enjoying to watch and see how everything turned out. Mel in this episode wasn't really all that important. She was more sort of there as a supporting character and was really well done with how she was written, and I enjoyed it for that fact. And her sort of main point in this episode was just that this was sort of like her recovery episode from the events and stuff that happened in the previous episodes with Nico. And so it was just a lot of her sort of reconnecting with her family and stuff, and that was really fun to see. And everything with Maggie, which was sort of the main points of this episode, were some of the best, with this random new Kappa showing up that dressed really out of place and sort of took control of the Kappa house, and like them weaving around to figure out who or what this new Kappa is and stuff was interesting to see. And it was a bit confusing where they struggled at first to figure out the different sort of types of ghosts and stuff. And they had to go to the book and do all this different stuff to get help to possibly figure out what kind of ghost this new Kappa is. And that was really interesting and really well done with how they chose to show that first sort of stretch of them trying to figure out who the ghost is, or actually what type of ghost. And that whole scene where they actually had to go back to the 80s, I think it was, and how that was all done and stuff was really interesting, especially with what it revealed about a bit of the truth of Maisie. And that was so interesting to see how that was all done. But then the confusing part was later when they found out more truth about this girl, they all of a sudden knew these other two types of ghosts, and that really confused me on how they went from knowing nothing about ghosts to all of a sudden knowing enough information to be able to quickly identify, oh, she's a reaper, or oh, she's a lost spirit, or stuff like that. And their sudden jump in knowledge really kind of confused me, but still it was entertaining and good to keep the story moving along. And then sort of how that all ended was interesting, with the way that Maggie could only save Lucy was through apologizing for all the wrongs that she did, and how Lucy sort of took that was interesting, with it ending up being that she really didn't remember anything when she eventually woke up free from the spirit, but how they still learned off of each other enough, and how Maggie learned that the biggest pain that she was causing Lucy was continuing to try and be her friend, when all Lucy really needed at this time was space. And so I'm very interested to see if their sort of friendship will eventually be mended in the future once that space and time has been given. Then everything with Maisie in this episode was so interesting for what it's setting up for in the future, where Maisie is continuing to try and figure out what's going on with Gavin, and him having this mark on him that only she can see, and it being revealed that this mark is a protection spell from evil forces, and only evil forces are able to see the mark. Makes me really excited with what it's revealing about Maisie possibly having this dark side, or this dark entity inside her, and that's a storyline that I'm really excited to see what's going to happen going forward. Then the ending of this episode was really sweet, with the sisters and Harry all getting together as sort of one unit, and it was just really fun with how they chose to show all that. And then just overall, this was a really, really entertaining and fun episode that was so interesting to watch and see how everything played out. And just, yeah, so that's my review of Charmed, Season 1, Episode 6, called Kappa Spirit. So, yeah. Bye!